Okay, for Drishtiyuti, he gets 112 points for the Sun. A very powerful position for the Sun for the title and the leadership. Still, it gave it. But if you miss that Sun Rahu conjunction, as I explained early on, you'll make big mistakes in this chart. Okay. For the Moon, he gets 81.2 points. Again, a pretty decent Moon for manifesting whatever he preferred to do in the world. Of course, he has written books. He's been associated with some teaching university and he's got good social contacts and connections. He left a long lasting impression on the people. They followed him. The charisma was the one that what led to his winning the elections. That's a good moon. Both the sun and the moon are strong here. Mars, amazing, right? 78.3 points, a very powerful Mars. This is this real estate success that is there. Mercury, minus 60 points. We don't need to talk anything more about Mercury. This is the planet that disrupts him completely in his entire life because of poor management, lack of skills, lack of communication, media giving him the negative publicity, and lack of knowledge basically. You don't want Mercury to be the lowest in values. It's a tough situation with life. Jupiter, minus 55.8 points. And that's a tough one on Jupiter. Severe problems when it comes to the lack of purpose, the wrong ways of using the purpose. Many times the complaints was that he's a president but he was seen playing golf instead of doing the work. That's a non-purposeful Jupiter, where he's doing the opposite, alright? Even when it comes to his philosophies, one after another he kept changing through his presidency. There was no constant theme in his philosophies of his presidency. Mercury, one thing also you have to notice, playing by the rules of the game. That's very important for Mercury. Playing fair. He never played fair. We can be 100% sure about this minus 60 points on Mercury that the chance of playing fair is very minimal with such a person. There could have been ways and tricks and situations where they could have manipulated anything in the system to get ahead. One could be even just that very simple act of elections and also the tax things. Venus minus 61.4 points, failed relationships and lack of diplomatic ties with foreign countries. Very clearly we see that. Making everything personal about themselves in relationships, same theme for the country. It's not bad, like I said, that you have to focus on your country. It is the most important thing you have to do. In fact, every country, if they did that, there would not be any problems with other countries because you focus on your country and you maintain your boundaries and you draw the lines correctly, you're fine. The big problem America faces is that they interfered too much with other countries. And of course, other countries also meddle with America. But again, there is neat diplomatic situation there where you have to know how to balance. Afghanistan disaster now is one example. So the conspiracies with the twin towers, that whether it was true or not, all these things are there. How it was really part of the deal, such things. And of course, with someone interfering with the country, invading your country, there is no second thought about that. You have to defend and you have to attack and you have to do what is needed. But also, there is a limit to that, right? I mean, there is only so much you can do. But going beyond the limits is what leads to all these problems and lack of diplomatic ties with other countries. So this is that minus 61.4 points, and it's a big problem now. It's led to many issues. Joe Biden probably is cleaning up all the mess with the diplomatic ties of other countries. Like I said, some of it was needed, some of it was hard, strong rules that he put. It was needed, but some of it was not maybe needed. In the case of presidency, like I said in the previous example, that you cannot keep pleasing every single country and every single people on earth. You're going to keep making enemies. It's not a big surprise when Venus is at low value for a president because if you want to please everyone, you should sell ice creams. You should not become a CEO or you should not become a leader. They have to take some cruel decisions. But how much cruelty can be tolerated is the question. And that's a thing that they will have to learn by experience by only making those decisions and making those attempts. Without making those choices and without making those decisions, there will not be a lesson that you can understand. Okay, like the corona crisis, for example. In this situation, whatever the leader of a country did was a big problem. They shut down the country, the economy will suffer. And if they let the economy to recover and the country to go on as it is, people are going to die. And what is it that you can do? Whatever you did was still a catch 22 kind of situation. Somewhere one thing had to suffer. Of course, you can say we'll have to do the right kind of balance. But if you did the right kind of balance, still it is not a victory. Something is at loss. That's when Mercury will step in to evaluate the perfect options that is there to see what is the least damage I can do. You have to do damage control, you have to have a very good Mercury. He is the one that can evaluate the risks for you and come up with the right kind of options in front of you. And then that Mercury will feed back to Mars to use the right kind of strategy, the right kind of action, and then of course will also help Venus making the choices with those kind of options in front of you. That's why it's the balancing act between all the planets. You need a very powerful Mercury, especially if you have queens as the birth card or queens are in the spread. He's the one that will support the queens in every way possible to make that choices available to the queen to see what is it that is valuable for me to do now. Then Saturn, 59.6 points. It's interesting with Saturn because with all that bad food that he eats and the kind of toxic things that he puts into himself, still he's had a long life. He's had pretty good run with his health. Not major calamities or issues are there. Although there are claims that we forced a doctor to give him the proper certificate when he wanted to run for presidency. There were letters fudged, and the doctor wrote what Trump wanted him to write. So, such things are there with respect to health, but still a decent longevity now. A full longevity, no problems on Saturn. Like I said, Saturn, in fact, is blessed here. Okay, and that's that Mercury and Venus supporting Saturn super nicely. But he takes the energy and juice out of both Venus and Mercury because of his starvation. All right. So the long term, by hanging in there, by just sticking on to his presidency, he finally finished a term, whether you like it or not. That happened. When it comes to Shadbala, the sun and the moon are super strong. Fantastic. Okay, sun is at 1545 points, moon is at 1258 points. Amazing power for the sun and the moon. There is a lot of capacity, like I said, there is no doubt that this person is capable. But what if you miss this part, if you miss the personality and the strength of character of this person, you'll make big misjudgments about his chart. Mars is at 1135 points, super powerful Mars. You see that the three planets that you need very powerfully for a president, that is the Jack energy, is at super powerful state. So he was an extremely creative person. He got invested in many things. Right? He started so many businesses, so much to an extent that he drove his Mars to the presidency in the end. From where he started to where he ended up. That's that Jack creative energy, three planets being at super powerful position. But you notice what happens here. The three planets connected to the queens are weak. The capacity to maintain has been severely weak. That's when he could not maintain or execute those things properly. It's the queens that execute, right? And that execution did not happen even when the initiations happen. It's like a mad dog chasing cars. It will keep chasing the car. That's the Jack kind of energy. They keep chasing because the initiation is there. The drive is there to chase at get something that you like. But once you get it, what will you do out of that situation is that queens. So the Jacks did it for him. He went and got what he liked, even got the presidency, but the queens could not execute, those three planets being at weak value. The very skills were missing, the execution was missing, the judgment was missing, which was Jupiter, and also the choices that he took were also probably weak. That's what happens with a dog that finally bites that bumper of the car and it's still there. It's finally found what it's looking for, but what is it going to do? It can't do anything more than just biting the bumper or hitting the car in some way, right? That's it. So, very interesting situation with these Shadbala values for him. It's a very unique example with those three planets. That's why I evaluated this in a different way. Again, I used some advanced concepts here, but you get the idea. Saturn is at 831 points. Pretty amazing Saturn. That is that seventh, sixth cusp lord. Sixth cusp, of course, is all the difficulties that are thrown at you, and he still managed to overcome them. Okay, he had the capacity to overcome them. He was acquitted. It's not a big deal, all right? One thing you have to notice with him, I also wanted to tell, he was actually the third US president to be impeached. That's the three of diamond, the number three. And then in his presidency, he was impeached two times. And that's the twos of the Rahu connected to the power and authority card, which is the sun. And again, why is the third president? Because that's the one that's creating the Raj Yoga, right? The three of diamond falling in the Mars card. And all that is connected to the kings now. We see that connections as I explained. You have to keep this in mind about him. So Shadbala is fine for Saturn as well. The seventh cusp, of course, is his business investments and his relationships. All those are pretty okay. Only thing is Saturn is in that 12th Rashi and is suffering the losses and also the loss of his relationships because of that starvations. He may undergo starvations, but still never stopped having associations with marriage and women, right? We still got married the third time. That's that good capacity for Saturn. He's not learned his lessons but keeps repeating the same mistakes over and over again. That's what happens when Saturn is strong and also starved. It's another subtlety here. For Vimshopak, you see that very high values. Okay, Sun is at 12.4, Moon at 10.2, Mars at 17.2, Mercury 12.9, Jupiter 12.2, Venus 13, Saturn 10.2. All values are above the value of 10. Amazing. The most important one being Mars. The most fulfillment he will have is through his real estate and property and his actions. The big investments he made into all this land and purchase of them. Of course, working with some of his peers and all of them has been troublesome for him, but still, he had the capacity to integrate with them and coordinate with them. And you notice for a president, having a good moon is important because that shows the vice president. And this is Mike Pence for him. And he has good capacity as well. He was very supportive. Whether he liked it or not, he backed him up. He never quit in between. He never got fired. Mike Pence probably supported him in execution of much of his presidency. You can see. That's not going to be a surprise because the Sun Rahu conjunction people, they're very good at outsourcing their responsibility to others instead of they doing it. While you might have seen Donald Trump being at his golf course playing golf, some other people were doing the work. Could have been the vice president or the commanders in the army. That's the Mars. The other peers below him. He is only doing those executive orders, giving execution orders to people that the other people are following it up to do it. That good Mars is there to execute. Then we have the lowest values, of course, are Moon and Saturn. That lack of fulfillment can be coming because of emotional well being, no doubt about this. Also, the disappointment, of course, maybe of losing the presidency. Then Saturn, the 10.2. The long run was not there, right? He couldn't go for the second term. That's the problem with that Saturn being weak in the Vimshopak. That's the loss that's happening in the 12th Rashi as well. If Saturn was very powerful in Vimshopak, you go in for the long run and you will win that also because of your very persevering attitude. We saw that in the previous example of Harry Truman, I think. Right? He was not scheduled to win, but he won in spite of all the things that happened in those times. Then we have the situation with Sun 12.4, not too bad. His entrepreneurship has led to some fulfillment, you can say. Mercury 12.9, in spite of all these failed businesses and mismanagement, still he gets fulfillment here. Like I said, media gave him what he was asking for. They should have done the opposite, but they gave him what he wanted. Many media outlets were in support of him, and Fox News especially just gave him what he desired. That's a very bad situation for media. They personalized everything and he got the spotlight, the limelight. Jupiter at 12.2, and here it's a decent Jupiter fulfillment through his children and his creative ventures, not too bad. Venus at 13 as well. Of course, he has good fulfillment from his marriages despite these failures because he is married now and he will continue to have women in his life. That's full fulfillment from life is also through Venus. Not too bad. It's 13 is a very decent number here. So you can expect him to be happy at the time of his dying. Let's see if he gets that Ashtak Varg Raj Yoga. The 10th Rashi is Taurus, 11th is Gemini, 12th is Cancer, the Lagna is Leo. So Rashi Taurus is amazing, 42 points. Highly capable person taking a lot of action in the world. Of course he did, right? I mean, he did many things to get on top of the food chain. Whatever the buttons he had to pull, all kinds of politics is seen through the signs of Venus, which is the signs of Taurus and Libra. And he had a lot of resources. Of course, his father was the big investment here, the 10th cusp, right? His father funded him in many ways, and he took the right kind of actions, pulled the right kind of people in, pushed the right kind of buttons to be where he is today. The 42 points. Amazing. Just seeing the Ashtaka Varga at that time, there must have been a clue to predict his power and authority, to rise of fame and status and becoming the president. But if you would have missed this, then there could have been problems in the predictions. Gemini, only 28 points. Too many actions in the world, but the gains and the rewards you got is 28. A huge bandwidth of 14 points here, that's a lot. So there is no Ashtak Varg Yoga, and he's not any humanitarian or anything. You notice that the presidency, the title itself, was a big problem. Many people did not like him being the president. They did not accept him. He never received the full acceptance from the public. There was no love shown to him. And even at the opening ceremony, he claimed that was the biggest crowd there was. But it is not true, you can see, with the 11th cusp being the 28 points. Cancer, 20 points. You see that? Even lower than the gains. That is good. He never loses more than what he gains. But the losses are seen through the 12th Rashi, and there was this bankruptcies and all of that. Okay, still he is maintaining the resources. The 12th is good. But the amount of action he's taking to maintain those resources is pretty high, 42 versus 28. Leo gains 27. Not too bad. Alright, Leo is pretty decent. Leo is coming out to be positive than the 12th Rashi. So the ascendant is backed, and of course the Raj Yoga of Mars in the ascendant is also giving him that success. So what you can say is that buffer between the actions as well as the 11th Rashi being 14 points between the 10th and the 11th. This can only mean that it is not probable surprise for us that many people think he's actually hiding things, as well as many people think that he's not maybe worth so much, exaggerating his gains. That's also possible because that's what happens with Rahu and Sun in the 11th Rashi. Exaggeration is one big trait of narcissistic people, grandiose people. A huge blow up will happen, okay? They will show it like it is more than what it is. They may be a cat, but they will project themselves as a lion. That's applied to resources and value now because of that 11th Rashi getting involved. That's something that is there. And even 11th Rashi is the networking that you have. You may blow it up and show as if he has a lot of networking and connection with all the major people, which he might have, but not to an extent what he claims it to be. You see, there is a difference between those two things. But unless he has lost money or he has donated money for the humanitarian causes and needs, I wouldn't give him that Ashtak Varga Yoga here because we want the 11th Rashi to be more than the 10th Rashi. It's not happening in his case. Nonetheless, the ecliptic card is powerful here, right? It's the King of Diamonds. That is super powerful, 42 points. That's maybe what gave him the presidency, no doubt about it. Whereas the Ascendant, the 3 of Diamond, is weak. It's only 27 points that we see here. Then let's see the lowest in value. The lowest is not too much. It's only the 12th Rashi of Cancer of hidden things, the foreign connections, the foreign investments, and the losses, the bankruptcy. That's the only thing that is lowest. Most of them are close to that 26 value. Not too bad. It's pretty decent in that sense. In terms of Baba Bala, look at the 10th Rashi. It's super powerful again. The 10th cusp here getting the second rank. That's again the King of Diamonds. The third cusp here is getting the first rank. That's the sign of Libra, the sign of diplomacy, but here it's the sign of business for him. It's that Libra is the bazaars that is invested in, and it's the sign of media. He was extremely active in media. You can see that from the Twitter to The Apprentice to his books, and also the teaching Trump University, whatever it was. I wouldn't tell the third cusp is skills for him because you have to judge the Lord and he was weak and he was starved. Mercury was starved. But he still had a lot of willpower and courage. That's the third cusp also, to keep pursuing whatever he wanted to do. All right. And he kept pushing his willpower in more ways than needed. Of course, he was a bully also because of the too much of push, but he did what he had to do with that third cusp. The second rank here is the 10th cusp. That is nice. We saw that's a very good card, the King of Diamond. The third rank here goes to the first cusp. Not too bad, the Three of Diamonds. That's that most powerful Sun with such high Shadbala values. The lowest rank, you notice that? The 7th cusp. This is the love you receive from the public after the 11th cusp, right? Because this is the house of fame. There was notorious fame for him, not the right kind of fame, and the failed businesses and the failed relationships. That's the 7th house, unfortunately. Then the 11th rank, you see the 6th cusp here. Constant obstacles on his way, constant losses that he had to suffer, and even maybe health problems. Even though Saturn is strong, there will be trouble on that. The litigation, the lawsuits, the impeachment, all of that is the 6th cusp, the enemies that he had to face. Even the corona crisis is the 6th cusp, the constant obstacle on the path. That's his Baba Bala. So clear-cut answers we have from Ashtak Varga and Baba Bala in this case. Next, let's see the tables finally for him. So in terms of tables, I've entered the values from Kala for Drishtiyuti, Shadbala, Shodasha Varga as it is. For Drishtiyuti, Shadbala and Shodasha Varga total values, you add the final value of the card and these three values here. So on row 39, 42, 45, you get the total value for the cards. So in the three systems, the first rank goes to the Sun, the Ace of Spades. As I told you, it was all about himself. It was him expressing his individuality. It was about his grandiosity and his narcissism. That's the number one. In the Drishtiyuti and Shadbala, the second rank goes to Pluto, the Two of Diamonds. That's the real estate card, the financial opportunities, the success that he has. Not too bad because he still is wealthy, the Two of Diamonds, and much of it is through his real estate. And he also got the opportunity to be the president. That's the Two of Diamond, an opportunity being president given to you. Third rank in Drishtiyuti is the Mars card, amazing. And third rank in Shadbala is the Moon card. It's also really nice. So Moon, of course, is his capacity to manifest whatever he liked to manifest. Still the Seven of Hearts, the disappointment, all those things happened, but it was connected to the King of Hearts as we saw giving him the presidency. And then the Seven of Diamonds, Mars, very clearly we know, was the most important card of being the millionaire and also through that real estate success. 13th rank in the Drishtiyuti is Mercury, that's also the 12th rank in the Shadbala. I told you these are the problems in his life, the constant obstacles and the big problems with his media and his communication, the lawsuits and all of that, the divorce. 12th rank in Drishtiyuti is the Nine of Clubs Venus card, and 10th rank Shadbala is also the same. So the Nine of Clubs, that is the Venus card. Remember, it's the card of the politics, and that's the termination and also the impeachment and all of that you can see here. Other things as I've explained already in the first analysis. The 11th rank in both systems of Drishtiyuti and Shadbala is Neptune card, Four of Clubs. This is the lack of knowledge.